unplug your power supply from the PSU. You want to obviously turn it off. Probably want to turn it off before you unplug it, but it's fine either way. So for my PSU, I have a CX650 from Corsair. It's bronze rated. It should be enough power for everything. Next thing you want to do is hold the power button for about 10-15 seconds so it can statically discharge, just to make sure when you are fiddling around in there, nothing kind of has a little bit of power left in it, and then that way you're not going to ruin any of your components. Okay, here's the money shot of me cleaning out my fans. It's been only a year since I've had my rig, and that thing just collected so much dust. Probably a good thing for going forward would be every 6 months clean, just a deep clean. It's kind of horrid and disgusting how much dust there was, but yeah. So once you get it cleaned, your system up, it's time to start taking everything apart and let the real fun begin. Okay, first things first, I'm going to detach the AIO pump from the CPU block. The AIO is from Cooler Master. It's the Master Liquid ML240. RGB, it has 220mm fans. It's liquid cooled, also has kink resistant tubing. For the most part, I love this for my first build. It's kind of confusing, but once you get used to it, it's not that bad putting it back on. After having these for over a year, I can say that the fans have noticeably got louder. And with a CPU like the Ryzen 9, I think I might need something just to make it a little bit cooler. So now I'm just taking apart the LCD 5-inch display. I bought this on Amazon for like 35 bucks. I use it primarily for cam software to show temps and loads and speeds from my CPU and GPU. So it's not a bad little investment. Next we'll disconnect the pins for the power from the GPU. This is a MSI GeForce RTX 27 Armor OC 8GB edition. That means it's already overclocked out of the box of 1410 megahertz up to a boost core of 1740 megahertz with 2304 CUDA cores. It's PCI Express 3.0 with GDDR6 memory, which is pretty much for next gen capabilities. It also has DirectX 12 for 3D. For ports, it has one HDMI, one multi-monitor support, a display port, and one USB Type-C port. The GPU features consist of NVIDIA Turing architecture with the power of GeForce RTX platforms, combines real-time ray tracing with AI and programmable shading. So all the new games that are coming out with RTX, this will be able to support that RTX feature or function. Next we'll be taking out the DDR4 memory. These are Corsair Vengeance Pro 16GB, 8 gigs each of 8-pin DRAM. It has speeds up to 3200 megahertz, which can be enabled in BIOS by turning on XMP. Depends on what motherboard you have and what the BIOS are. These are great cards considering the price. A year ago I paid about $100 for these. The RGB is still working and they're still fully functional. Since Ryzen CPUs work with faster speeds, I might upgrade to a 3600 megahertz DRAM in the near future. So that's something to think about if you're using Ryzen. So now it's just time to disconnect all the SATA connectors, your fan connectors. So this is the real fun part of changing out components. Okay, in order for me to disconnect some of this power connectors pins, I have to take apart these fans from the casing of the PC. So that's what I'm gonna do right about now. So in my rig, I actually had 8 fans to begin with, but that just seemed like overkill. So after putting a new motherboard in, I decided that I just wanted to go with 6 fans. So 3 on top, 1 in the back for an exhaust, and then 2 in front for the AIO pump. And so far, my temps have been down for normal, I guess, for a Ryzen 3900X, because those do kind of run pretty high. So I got rid of a lot of fans, and then now I'm just trying to disconnect all of the fin pump headers, and then the fan pump headers, sorry, and then I'm going to redo my cable management. Okay, so as you can see from the AIO thermal compound, actually, after a year, didn't even harden. It was still able to be removed just by putting my finger on it, and then so I just wiped off the excess with the napkin. Didn't clean it completely because I see no point of doing it. And then right now, I'm just taking off the screws from the case standings, from preventing the motherboard from touching the case itself. Just depends, I think, on your case that you own, how many standings you have. And then I'm also just taking off the bracket for the AIO shield, so that way it can clamp on to this bracket, and then I ended up using that for the new motherboard as well. So I'm replacing the AMD Ryzen 7 2700, the CPU core of 8, 16 threads, a base clock of 3.2 gigahertz, max boost of 4.2 gigahertz, and I'm replacing that with the 3900X, which has 12 cores, 24 threads, 3.8 gigahertz base, a 4.6 boost. And so I'm switching from 2nd gen to 3rd gen, and it's a nice little step up from what I have right now. So right now I'm just going to try to get rid of these 2 fans and switch them around, because I had them accidentally backwards where the exhaust wasn't actually the exhaust, it was the intake. So I ended up fixing that, and then, like I said, just cleaning your case and everything will actually extend the life of all your components in your computer. So the motherboard we're going to be using is the B450 Tomahawk Max. It is ready for 3rd gen, so you don't have to worry about flashing your BIOS before you put in your new CPU. And for the money, it was like $100, so it was worth it. You get an AIO shield and 2 SATA port connectors. And when you're taking out your anti-static sleeve, just be careful. You never know, you don't want to build up some static discharge and then kill your motherboard, because I've heard of people doing that very easily when they get a new motherboard. And these brackets are for your AIO shield to hook onto. They didn't work for mine, but I ended up using my old one that came with the AIO. So we're going to be putting in the Ryzen 9 3900X. And so when you're putting it in, when you take out your CPU, there's going to be a notch with a triangle on the corner of the CPU, and then so you want to line that up with the motherboard. There will be a notch on the motherboard as well. So this is the most scary part about building a PC, because if you bend any of those pins, you pretty much just ruined your CPU, which could be very cost effective. So there's the notch I was talking about. And then once you line it in, you don't want to press down on it, you just kind of want to drop it in. And you see me kind of wiggling with it, but what I did was I just waited to hear it kind of fall into place, and then you push down on your bracket and it firmly connects into place. And then we'll be putting it in our DRAM, and then you have a specific way of putting it in. But if you look at your motherboard's schematics, you'll see which slots you need to connect them in. All you need to do is add pressure when you do put them in. It seems kind of scary at first for me, because you just don't want to snap or break anything off. So it does use quite a bit of force, but once you push them in, you'll hear a snap, and then you'll know that they are ready to go. So just like what I did with my last build, I only used a dime size with the thermal compound, and I used the thermal compound that came from my Cooler Master, which was Cooler Master compound, and then I just spread it evenly between the diameter of the CPU. Took my time, used some plastic so that way there's no electrical discharge or anything like that. And then now I'm just taking off the old brackets, or actually the new brackets that came with my motherboard, but they won't work. And then so I put the old ones on for the I/O, and now it's just time to install it. And this part's kind of scary for me too as well, just because I don't want to bend the motherboard too much where it just ends up not working. But I ended up getting it in with not too much of trouble. And now we just gotta screw down into the stands, because like I said before, you cannot have the motherboard actually touching the case itself, because that could cause some sort of electrical malfunction in your motherboard or fire or whatever. So make sure that your motherboard is not touching the stands, and make sure everything's tightened down and not too tight, because like I said, you don't want to break anything. And then now just trying to put it on the AIO shield is kind of hard, because the way the brackets are, they have like these little hooks that you have to hook onto the bracket. And then so what I do is I take one full hook off, and then I hook one side on, and then like you see on the right hand side, it's completely off. So that's why I'm gonna put it back on right now into the AIO. And then I had to have my girlfriend help me. I had to have a third hand, because I couldn't just do it by myself. So if you have somebody to help you and you have an AIO, definitely get somebody else to help you do this, because it makes it so much easier. And then now you don't want to tighten it down too much. You want to kind of go left to right, and tighten it down where it's making full contact with the CPU in the AIO itself. So now it's time to connect all your power connectors, obviously. So what's scary is like I was trying to connect these SATA ports, but one had a weird L angle and it wouldn't connect properly. But another thing that's scary is trying to connect your power switches, which is your A, your minus, and positive connectors, because if you mix those up, you could have some serious complications. And then just putting in my GPU, it's pretty big, it's pretty beefy, and it was very awkward putting it in. And then this thing's so much money, you don't want to bend anything, you don't want to break anything, so it's kind of nerve-wracking to begin with. And then you'll hear it snap into place once it's good to go. And then there's one screw that you have to put in, so that way it adds support. And it's kind of hard. If you have the money, I would definitely get a magnetized Phillips head screwdriver. It definitely works out and it helps you a lot. So once those are in, then you gotta connect your PCIe power cables, and it just depends on what kind of graphics card you have. So I would reference your manual that comes with your motherboard or your graphics card. So after replacing all the parts, like the CPU and the motherboard, I didn't have to worry about re-downloading Windows at all or any of the drivers. So once I had booted it up, it actually was getting the device ready, as you can see, and I think it was just installing everything that it needed. So after a long day, I actually got everything ready and working perfectly fine. Okay, so if you stayed this long, thank you very much, and please like and subscribe. And we're gonna recap. So we changed out the Oris B450 Pro Wi-Fi with the Tomahawk Max B450 motherboard MSI, and then we swapped out the Ryzen 2700 with the Ryzen 3900X. More threads, more cores, more processing power, and here's the 2700. But if you stayed this long and watched, thank you very much. Like I said, please like and subscribe or comment or dislike, whatever you like to do. It's all up to you, not my prerogative. So yeah, have a good day. Bye.